All right, St. James Ministers Fraternal will have a men and family march into Montego Bay. The intention of the march is to draw attention to the escalation of crime and violence in the western end of the country. This event should help to motivate the people to rise against the senseless killings that are taking place. All right, to tell us more this morning, we have Reverend Everton Jackson, Chairman, Peace Management Initiative of St. James, and Chairman of the Steering Committee for the march, Reverend Marc Mullings, pro St. James Ministers. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I don't know, to some people, the problem has escaped the capabilities of law enforcement, so much so now that the divine intervention that the minister has called on is basically coming in the form of both of you gentlemen. There are many who have I suppose, berated the church and saying that the church hasn't done enough and you're more reactive than you are proactive. How would you respond to that?
I think that those who have formed that opinion clearly do not understand the operation of the church. The truth is, the church has always been playing a significant role in national development in just about every facet of society. And historically, that is true. I suspect that because sometimes when the church engages in its prophetic utterances, people tend not to listen or to pay attention. Then whenever there are repercussions, then they turn around to blame the church.
But hold on, before we go any further, those utterances, the volume are basically turned up, particularly when it comes on to homosexuals. But you really don't hear the same kind of, I don't want to use venom, but the same kind of robust opposition to these actions.
Well, I would stand in agreement with Reverend Jackson. We, the church, are the voice, the conscience of God here in the nation. And we have always been preaching the same message. We have not digressed. Maybe the methodology in presenting it has been different over the years, but the message remains the same. And as Reverend Jackson has said, people tend not to listen. And oftentimes, the reaction is not from the church, but for people's reaction to what is happening in society. And so when we move away from godly principles, righteousness and righteous living, what we are reaping now is as a result of our own actions. But the church has always been there, warning about what the actions or reactions will be to less righteousness in the nation.
Calling on God to help and heal is one thing. And people would say that Jamaica is a religious society, a Christian society, and we've been praying for the country. But members of the congregations may be guilty in the secrecy part of what contributes to the crime, because police tell you that a lot of why they can't get as far as they should is because people know and they won't tell. How much of this rally is to encourage people to tell what they know?
I think the church continues to emphasize the importance of all of us playing our part in the whole matter of peace management and crime fighting. And so while we may encourage persons to be vocal, to play their part and to play their role, the truth is individuals, they have their own rights. So we can dictate to people, what to say, what to do. We can encourage them, we can advise them, we can bring to bear on their life the values of God's word and so on. But in the final analysis, they have to make that judgment call. And a number of variables will have to be taken into consideration, the trust factor, etc., etc. But we do continue to emphasize the importance of our members playing their part, because the church is not only the church gathered, but the church scattered.
This question, simplistic it might be, but I'm afraid I will have to ask, because we have had march aplenty, particularly in Kingston, yet the violence has escalated. Many might see this as just a symbolic gesture. How will this change in Montego Bay? How will this march help to change the thinking?
Well, I think, Ron, I think we must establish from the very onset that there's no magical powers to this march.
God's supposed to be the magical power.
It is not a magic wand. I think the attempt is to raise the consciousness of our people.
So when the minister calls on divine intervention, what is he asking?
It's not magic. When we call on divine intervention, we are saying that we are asking our people to pay attention to the absolute importance of godly principles, values, and precepts.
So the intention is not to pray away the crime.
The intention, you see, there's much more to crime fighting than just to stand up and pray. A number of things, a number of variables will have to come to the fore. We are attempting to raise the consciousness of our people to understanding that we have an important role to play in society as it relates to violence prevention, peace management, and crime fighting. And secondly, it is an attempt to bring together stakeholders in Montego Bay from the civic society, the church community, the politicians, to recognizing that all of us need to partner together in the whole matter of crime fighting from a communal perspective.
Why is it titled Men and Family March?
The title of it is actually 10,000 Men and Their Families March. The intention is to gather a number of persons with the intention of getting to that number, 10,000. The theme, what we're working with, is standing up for peace, family life, and the protection of our children. The purpose has an additional component as it relates to morality. Now, if not us, who? If not now, when? If not, I always like to use the term, how the West was won. And when the West is won, then we believe then the entire nation will be won to righteousness.
So you're more targeting men?
No. It says 10,000 men and their families. Now, what we're trying to do is to get that team together that will pull all these persons from different points. And I want to zoom in a little on the march to help us to understand that we have 4 different meeting points that will move at 3 o'clock simultaneously. And then we end up at Dump Up Beach.
What are those 4 points?
We have the airport roundabout for persons living from that point out towards Lilliput, Barrett Town. We have also Overton Plaza. We have Megamart, and we have Clock. Those are the 4 meeting points for all the communities that would naturally form around.
And everybody will walk towards Dump Up.
And everybody moves towards Dump Up Beach, where we'll have the declarations being made, and we have a program that is outlined. The main presenter will be the Most Reverend Charles IV, and we'll have other presenters, the Minister of National Security, the opposition spokesman and National Security, the chairman of the St. James Ministers Fraternal, as well as our honorable chairman here of the steering committee that is responsible for this march.
And this will happen when again?
This is the 16th of August, Sunday the 16th of August. And the march starts at 3 o'clock. So we ask persons to gather. Yes, that's this Sunday. We ask persons to gather at the various points so that the march can start. And we will be having 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Okay.
The march starts. And we'll be having bands, marching bands, leading each of the processions towards the central meeting point.
All right, and flashing across the screen now, you see the numbers. If you want to get involved and to get any additional information, there are the numbers at the bottom of the screen to make any kind of contact. Gentlemen, we want to thank you this morning and all the
I wish you
success.
the best with the event on Sunday.
Yeah. We do hope people will come out and support this. All the best.
And just as a closing word, if I may, just to remind the nation that it is righteousness which exalts the nation, and sin is a reproach to any people.
All right. Perfect way for us to end this segment. Thanks much, Marc Mullings and Everton Jackson.